Hi everyone, hola a todos, welcome back to Nuria's Lab. Have you ever wondered why in Spanish we have two verbs to say to know? We have saber and we have conocer. And if you're learning Spanish, you've probably come across this topic and you've tried to figure out the difference. Today we're going to see the etymology of these two verbs so you can see the actual meaning and it will all make sense. And at the end of the video, we're going to do some practice together so you can see whether to use saber or conocer. It's a great trick to understand the etymology of the word. If you go back to the origins, you can know the actual meaning, why it was used, what was its purpose in the language, and what is its purpose in the language. Let's start with saber. Saber comes from the Latin sapere, and it had two meanings: to be intelligent, to be wise, to be an expert in something, and also to taste. Think of it like this: when you learn something new, it's like tasting it for the first time. If you want to know more about the meaning of saber, as in to taste, go to my blog, the link is on the description. I go deeper in how language connects sensory and mental perception. So in Spanish, if I'm saying Nuria sabe matemáticas, what I'm saying is that I, Nuria, identify the concept of math intellectually. I understand it intellectually. Saber is about identifying with your mind intellectually. Now, conocer comes from the Latin cognosco or cognoscere, which means to have a notion about something. Notion also comes from this word. So conocer is about identifying something with your sight or with direct experience. It's being familiar with something, getting to know someone or something by encountering them. So conocer is about identifying something through your sight, through direct experience. It's being familiar with something. So if you say conozco a Nuria, that means that you've met her, that you're familiar with her. And if you say conozco España, it means you've visited Spain and you have a notion of Spain. You have experienced Spain. So here's a trick to remember. Saber is about intellectual understanding, and conocer is more about familiarity and having a notion of something, but not intellectually knowing a concept, more like a feeling. I don't understand Nuria or Spain intellectually. I don't understand their concept. I'm familiar with them. I have a notion of them, of who they are. I have an idea. So I cannot stress this enough. Etymology is not just for linguists, it's like the ultimate cheat sheet for learning languages. If you know the origin, if you know their purpose, then you know how to use it. If you know that saber is rooted in intelligence and taste, and that conocer is more about a notion, an idea, then it clicks. And this distinction in Spanish doesn't exist in English, for example. In Spanish, this is rooted in how we perceive the world, how we classify things that we perceive. Language is really deep. It shows us how societies then and now perceive what surrounds us, perceive the world, and how we verbalize it. So to wrap up, saber is by understanding or identifying intellectually, and conocer is about identifying in more of like an idea, a feeling, a notion. If you enjoyed the history of words and how Spanish people perceive things, click like and share it with someone, and subscribe for more tricks and tips on the Spanish language. Okay, so let's do some practice. I'm here in espanol.lingolia.com, and well, I'm going to do this 10 here. If you wanna do more, I'll put the link in the description. Okay, so the first one. Blank, a Marta es la nueva profesora de matemáticas. So it's, do you know Marta? She's the new math teacher. So in this case, it would be, ¿conoces a Marta? Why? Because you know her, as in familiarity. Are you familiar with her? Do you have a notion of her? It's not like, do you know her concept? Do you know her intellectually? Okay. Second one. No conozco, sé dónde he dejado las llaves del coche. I don't know where I've left the keys of my car. What do you think it would be? It's no sé. No sé, because I intellectually don't know where the keys are. Me encanta el arte y conozco, sé muy bien las obras de Warhol. I love art and I know very well Warhol's art. So in this case, it's going to be conozco. Why? Because you recognize them by sight. You're familiar with them. It's not that intellectually you know them, you're just familiar with them. And you've examined them and so on. But the way you know them is more of like a notion. Okay? Mis padres no conocen, saben, los grupos de música que me gustan. In this case, I would say saben. Mis padres no saben. They don't know. My parents don't know which groups of music I like. So they intellectually o no conocen los gustos. This one could be either or, to be fair. Mis padres no conocen los grupos de música que me gustan. So they are not familiar with the groups, with the bands that I like. Yeah, it would be conocen. But maybe they just don't know, they don't know which ones I like. You know, they intellectually never learned which ones I like, or they are not familiar with the ones I like. So it could be either or. I think here they mean conocen. They're not familiar with the groups that I like. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, leave it in the comments. ¿A qué hora empieza la película del cine? ¿Conoces, sabes a qué hora empieza la película del cine? This is a fact to know intellectually, right? Sabes. Do you know? Like, do you intellectually? Have you learned? Have you understood at what time the movie starts? Mi hermana hablar 4 idiomas. Mi hermana conoce o sabe hablar 4 idiomas. To know how to speak a language is saber. Sabe hablar 4 idiomas because it's something that you can intellectually do. No conocemos, sabemos qué tiempo hará esta semana. So we don't know what will the weather be. So this is also a fact, a concept. We don't know, we intellectually don't know. No sabemos qué tiempo hará esta semana. It's not something that we've seen or we've not seen. It's just something that we don't intellectually know. He vivido 7 años en Londres, así que conozco, sé la ciudad bastante bien. So I've lived in London for 7 years, so I know the city pretty well. In this case, when it's something by sight, when you're familiar with it, when you visited it, is conocer. You have a notion, you have an idea of the city. You don't intellectually know the concept of it. Hoy he conocido, he sabido al novio de mi hermana. Again, it's a person. Today I met my sister's boyfriend. It's someone, you've been familiar with this person, you've got to see this person, you have conocido this person, conocer. Y por último, los alumnos se conocen, saben la lección de memoria. They know the subject or la lección. They know the topic by memory, by heart. Los alumnos se saben, they know it, they've learned it intellectually. This is like they know math, they know grammar, they know the lesson by heart. Yeah, the lesson by heart. So they know it intellectually. Okay? Again, if you want to finish this, I'm going to leave the link in the description. You can also check at the end whether you've done it right or wrong. Let's check. Yeah, it's all correct. Yeah, you can see whether you have it right or wrong, and let me know if you have any questions, if something that I've done here doesn't make sense. Just leave it in the comments or send me an email and I'll explain it further. Okay? Muchas gracias.